Thank you all for being here on this Tuesday evening. We're just really grateful to have you. We know that it's been a long road with AB 1705, and we're excited to talk today about next steps and sort of where we are at with this piece of legislation. So I want to start by giving everybody a little bit of history. We're going to start with the legislative landscape. So basically, we started in 2012 with the Seymour Campbell Student Success Act, and basically we had students being placed in a math or English course as soon as they started their journey at community college without a chance to basically brush up on their skills. We had students that were being tested and placed into predominantly lengthy remedial pathways that weren't necessarily the appropriate fit for them, and it just took too long for students to be able to get into transfer level math and English. So that whole situation, which again was prompted by legislation, was not ideal. So AB 705, was put into law in 2017 to sort of rectify this, and that bill essentially reduced these lengthy remedial pathways and created a one-year pathway for students to complete transfer level math and English courses. That was a really big improvement from where we were prior to that, because it wasn't right for students to be getting stuck in these long, lengthy remedial pathways and just not being able to make it to transfer level coursework. So that was an improvement, but then between 2018 and 2021, we had a lot of Title V regulations that went a little bit outside of the scope, not even a little bit, a lot of it, outside of the scope of what AB 705 did. Essentially, AB 705 was supposed to increase access to transfer level math and English by reducing the lengthy remedial pathways and making sure that there was a one-year pathway to transfer level math and English. However, the regulatory language took it a step further and just limited standalone remedial courses at community colleges altogether. There were some benefits though with the SLAM or stats liberal arts math pathway being created as opposed to just the business STEM pathway, and co-requisite support classes were developed. So that was sort of a mixed bag, but colleges weren't necessarily limiting standalone remedial courses to the extent that folks who had instituted the Title V regulation wanted, so they came back to the legislature and brought AB 1705 to the table, which was a bill that was supposed to maximize the probability that students enter and complete transfer level math and English courses within a year. The bill itself is one thing, but the guidance that the Chancellor's Office released on the bill was sort of a whole nother ballgame. And Chancellor's Office guidance interpreted AB 1705 as requiring the elimination of all standalone pre-transfer coursework in the California community colleges. And that's sort of where we are today. So FACCC opposed AB 1705 in 2022 on the grounds that we feared that we would lose our standalone pre-transfer courses. We know that we serve such a diversity of students, and we're an open access institution that serves the top 100% of students, so we need to be able to have course offerings at the California community colleges that meet the needs and meet the academic levels of preparation of a variety of students, and not being able to teach our pre-transfer courses was not in line with that mission. And at this legislative session, we tried to introduce legislation that would reform AB 1705 and make the appropriate changes that we wanted when the bill was instituted. So here is a QR code that goes to our draft one-pager on what our proposal was, and here's a quote from that. FACCC seeks to enact legislation clarifying that the California community college students can enroll in and community colleges can offer standalone foundational pre-transfer courses to promote student agency and equitable access. We don't want to go back, right, to pre-705 placement. Just our language is very narrow, that we want to just ensure that students have agency and equitable access to courses that they feel are in their best interest to take. A little bit more information on our proposal. We wanted students to be able to enroll in courses that meet them where they are at. We didn't want to change any of the placement rules. We were okay with students all being placed into transfer level math and English, and we didn't want the long remedial pathways back. But if what the current model is, which is everyone goes straight into transfer level math and English with only co-requisite support options, did not work for a student, we wanted to make sure that they had another option, right? Because Einstein, I believe, says insanity is doing the same thing multiple times and expecting different results. And I think that is sort of what the only option that lots of students who struggled under AB 1705 were provided with. They could only retake a class if transfer level with co-requisite support wasn't working for them, even if they would have benefited from being able to access a standalone pre-transfer course that could help them brush up on their skills and then keep moving along. We also wanted to make sure that full comprehensive data was collected to show the full picture. Right now, throughput is the only metric that is being used to justify AB 1705 and the wholesale elimination of pre-transfer level math and English courses. So we don't have any information that's being collected on a statewide level on the drop data specifically, and we know anecdotally and also from local data that some colleges have sent us that we are seeing very high failure and drop rates, specifically from marginalized populations, whether that be our first generation students, our Black and Brown students, our older students. And, more data just needs to be collected in general to see how this disproportionately impacts our most vulnerable students, whether that's students with, learning disabilities, or we just serve a very diverse group of students at the California community colleges. So that is sort of what we wanted in the bill, and we stripped down this language even further to say that at least students who fail or withdraw from a transfer level math or English course should be able to access standalone pre-transfer level math and English, which is a super duper narrow change in the code section, but we received opposition from Assemblymember Irwin, who was the person who authored AB 705 and 1705. So that created sort of these dicey political circumstances. But a lot has still happened in the last couple of months, so I wanted to give sort of a part 2 on the history to catch everyone up to speed. In February 2024, the Chancellor's Office came down with guidance regarding pre-calculus and trigonometry for STEM students that was supposed to eliminate these courses for STEM majors by fall 2025. We were this close to losing those courses, which would have gone against a lot of the work that we have done in the last decade to make STEM more accessible for minority students and students from vulnerable populations. Then we fought back against this memo, and in December 2024, we were able to get follow-up guidance on this original memo saying that a student who did not take pre-calculus or trigonometry in high school successfully would be able to take the class at a community college. Granted, this still doesn't address the issue of returning students, of which a significant portion of our community college population is, and learning loss. The truth is that a student could have successfully taken pre-calc or trigonometry in high school, however many years ago that was, and not have retained that same level of knowledge where they are now in their educational journey and would like to brush up on their skills and are not able to if they would like to pursue a STEM degree. But even though the follow-up guidance was, again, very narrow, special interest groups were very opposed to them. Public advocates even threatened to sue the Chancellor's Office for infringing on a student's right to take calculus, which the memo didn't even prevent a student from taking calculus. It would just allow a student who did not successfully take a class in high school to be able to take it in community college. So in response to a lot of pressure from special interest groups, many faculty and students came to the Board of Governors meeting in December 2024 to support the memo publicly, and we had a great turnout. It was very impressive with so many faculty, so many students, and well over 100 people also sent in letters supporting the memo. So that was something that really reinforced the importance of making sure that we didn't have any more classes cut under the sort of guidance of 1705. Then we began to pursue this reform legislation and shopped our bill proposal that I last talked about throughout the legislature to try and get new language that would allow students to access standalone pre-transfer courses under specific circumstances. In February 2025, the SSCCC, Student Senate for California Community College, which represents 2.1 million students, voted to co-sponsor our AB 1705 reform bill. We were able to get a legislative oversight hearing on AB 1705 through the Assembly Higher Education Committee, and it was all about the implementation. It was incredible. It was held at the Capitol. We had powerful testimonies from students and faculty from all over the state. We had the student body president of Cuesta College and a veteran returning student from San Diego who gave such powerful testimonies, as well as two faculty members who really explained how the implementation has gone and the ways in which it has negatively impacted our students. Despite the great success of the Board of Governors meeting, getting co-sponsorship of the Student Senate on the bill, and having this great legislative oversight hearing, and we met with about 3/4 of the legislature on this issue, we were able to get the most of the legislature and lots of people to recognize that there is a need for reform on AB 1705. That being said, Assemblymember Irwin requested, and that word is being used generously, that the legislature not act on AB 1705. And because she was the primary author on AB 705 and AB 1705, she sort of got to call the shots on what reforms were made. And even though ours were very narrow, she still was unfortunately not interested. So we don't have a bill as of now, but I did want to focus a little bit on what we've accomplished before we get to what comes next. So, just two quick screenshots from the Board of Governors meeting. We had so many faculty and students come on Zoom to try and share their testimonies on why we need access to pre-calculus and trigonometry at the California community colleges, that the Board of Governors made people say if they're in support or opposition of the memo instead of reading out their statements for the sake of time. We just had such a huge turnout, which is a good thing, though it was really unfortunate that people weren't able to read their statements. But the amount of people power and the ability to mobilize and organize faculty and students around this issue, I think at the Board of Governors spoke volumes. And then the same thing at the AB 1705 implementation oversight hearing. Over 200 people sent in emails in public comment, and I just attached pictures of some of the many testimonies and public comments that were given in regards to the need for AB 1705 reform. So 2 immensely successful hearings. Again, this is a really big improvement from 2022 with AB 1705 when the bill went through policy committees. It was FACCC, Mount San Antonio College, and one individual who had formally submitted position papers in opposition to the bill, compared to over 20 special interest groups and many other entities. I think one thing that's important to recognize is that the legislator's job is to legislate, right? And they have to make laws and take votes on so many different subjects, whether that be water rights or public benefits or higher education policy, right? They're not an expert in every area of policy, right? So they rely a lot on information from the public, whether that be in the form of position papers, people talking to them and doing meetings to gauge what things are like on an issue and how it's going to impact people. So in 2022, when AB 1705 was coming down the pipeline, when the legislature saw only 3 opposition papers and so many support positions, it made sense to them to think, okay, this must be a good policy, we should pass it. And I think we've really changed the dynamic and the perception of the legislature on this issue in the last 6 months or so, with the amount of public pressure that we have put on this issue, and really trying to make sure as many people as possible are aware that this is happening, that it's negatively impacting the most vulnerable students at the California community colleges, and that we need reform in order to be able to really fulfill our mission. So that being said, moving forward, we don't have a bill this legislative session, but we are just getting started. So I wanted to talk about the things that we can do as next steps. Like I said, people power was essential to us getting as far as we did. just having the legislative oversight hearing, being able to secure that new chancellor's office memo to save pre-calculus and trigonometry, all of that only happened because we were able to out-organize special interest groups. And we brought so many students and faculty together to speak with legislators and come to these hearings and write emails. We were able to use our power to make our voices heard. Like I talked about earlier, legislature is trying to figure out who the experts are on each issue, and we made it clear that students and faculty are the experts in curricular matters. Special interest groups may have money, but we have people power, and we can utilize that, but we have to keep the pressure going. So it is of the utmost importance for you all to keep meeting with your legislators, to send emails, to make phone calls, to talk to the district office. The legislature is in office because you all elected them, right? And it's their job to listen to you. So I know it can feel really anxiety inducing to be like, oh, I'm talking to these people in power, but they're people too, and their job is to serve you. And one of the most effective ways for us to get our points across in our legislative meetings is to bring facts to the table, bring numbers about the ways in which this is impacting students, to bring students to share them, to be able to share their stories, for faculty to be able to share their stories of what's happening in the classroom. I know that this is a very emotionally charged issue, and it is so heartbreaking the way in which many of our most vulnerable students are being kind of pushed out of higher education as a result of the implementation of this policy. But if we can bring the lived experiences of people on campuses to the legislature and, keep a outlook of, okay, this is what has happened and we need to move forward in a way that doesn't negatively impact our most vulnerable, and these are what we're proposing for the changes moving forward, that's the most effective way for us to make progress. To be an effective advocate, right, lots of these people voted in support of 1705, but more importantly than that, so much of the legislature has overturned since 705 and 1705 happened, right? So there's really an opportunity to educate new members of the legislature, to prime them for when it is a more politically feasible time for us to rerun this legislation. And I think a narrative has been created about free transfer classes, that they are the thing that is holding back our most vulnerable students, when in reality, like, we have the opportunity to change that false narrative and say that having access to a scaffolded approach to education is of the utmost importance for a lot of students, to talk about the fact that we have so many students who are part-time, they're working jobs, they're taking care of family, and they may not be able to take, a 5-unit math class plus a 2-unit co-requisite that compresses 2 to 3 years of math into, 2 units on top of a 5-unit class. And just that right now what we're doing, it works for a lot of students, but for the ones that it's not working for, we can't afford to leave them behind without any other options but to retake a course without additional support. So we need to create an environment where, they trust us, they see faculty and students as the experts, and we can change their perspectives. And I think just having the opportunity to talk to so many different people, for faculty and students to share their stories, we've already made a lot of progress in terms of changing people's perspectives. We just have to keep the momentum going to get a critical mass of people who are willing to take action on this issue. So when you talk to your representatives about this issue, we find that a compliment sandwich approach is something that is helpful in trying to get your point across effectively. I know this is really hard to do sometimes when you don't feel like you have a lot of positive feedback to give on an issue, but Wendy likens your first advocacy meeting kind of to like a first date, right? If you want to get another conversation with that person, you probably shouldn't go in swinging, right? And the same thing applies to the legislature. So saying something first, like, thank you for the opportunity to share our experiences at the legislative oversight hearing, or AB 1705 has helped some students pass through transfer level courses quicker than they did under than pre-AB 705, or that the old lengthy remedial pathways weren't working and we don't want to go back, right? Affirming the legislature in some of the things that they have done can be a good gateway before you get your criticisms in. And when we critique. We need to be specific and focused, and also focus on providing solutions, right? Not that we're just complaining about an issue, but that we've thought about it and we have a great solution that we would like to be implemented through legislation to reform this policy. Some examples would be, I know your office cares about closing equity gaps for marginalized students, and we need some flexibility in enrollment for that to be able to happen. And that the issue was with the implementation within the system. There were actually carve-outs in AB 1705 that have not been honored by the California Community College system at large. And that, yes, this is working for many students, which is good. We want that to keep working for them. But for students who are withdrawing or failing transfer level classes, we need to be able to provide them with another option. So that's like a little bit different than if you were to go in and be like, AB 1705 is horrible and this is damaging so many students. And I know that a lot of us have very strong feelings about this bill. Believe me, I do too. But if we frame our argument in a particular way, we are much more likely to get further in getting people to listen to us and believe us and, take our side and be willing to advocate for us on this issue. So, a call to action. So these are some things moving forward that you can do on your campuses to continue with our momentum. 1. Passing a resolution in support of AB 1705 reform. FACC has a template. When you pass the resolution, you can send it to me at Mathews@facc.org. And also please send it to your legislators, right? Let them know that, hey, whether it's our academic senate, our student senate, our department has passed this resolution, it's important to let them know about it so they know that this is an issue that's important to you. Gathering student, faculty, and alumni testimonials and local data are of the utmost importance to show the impact of AB 1705 implementation on your campus. So gathering those and then taking them to legislators who are in your district. I know that we had lots of people here who attended FACC's Advocacy and Policy Conference and got to meet with legislators then, but we can't just meet one time, right? This has to be an ongoing conversation. So by the time that we have a opportunity to rerun this bill, that people aren't forgetting about it, right? If we stop putting pressure, if we stop having these conversations, there are so many other issues that the legislature cares about, right? And we need to maintain their attention and their focus. We can't let them forget or ignore this issue. So post about it on social media. Remind your legislators of their responsibility to serve their constituents in their comment sections. Meet with them. Bring students, bring faculty, meet with them, develop those relationships. They're so important to be able to secure support for proposals like our reform bill. Call your legislator, email them, just keep talking about it on your campuses and with the legislature in order for us to keep the momentum going until we have a more substantive ability to make this reform proposal go a little bit further than it did this time. Believe me, we tried everything that we could. We wanted so badly to be able to have this reform proposal go across the line this legislative session. We did make a lot of progress in terms of spreading awareness as well as getting a new guidance memo and having that oversight hearing. There's still a lot of work to be done, right? But we wouldn't have accomplished all that we did or be able to build the community of people who are, organized around this issue if we hadn't gotten the ball rolling and had so many people, right, having these conversations. So even though we don't have a bill right now, it's of the utmost importance that we don't lose that sense of urgency and we keep talking about it. So FACC is going to be doing a couple of initiatives of sorts over the next couple of months, like a email your legislator week, a call your legislator week, trying to organize folks within districts to meet with their legislators if you would like to meet and you would like some assistance in scheduling those meetings. FACC is happy to help. Just shoot me an email. But in order for you to get some more information, the most up-to-date information on where we are on this issue and what you can do to help out, you can scan this QR code to join FACC's Advocates listserv. That's where we send out all of our really advocacy communications. This is available to anybody, whether you're a student, faculty, administrator, and then if you would like to support us in the work that we do at FACC and really have in-depth access to the work that we're doing, and especially on this issue, if you'd like to join FACC as a member, that would be greatly appreciated. All right, that is mostly what we have for today. Thank you for being here.
You guys can email info@faccc.org if you have additional questions we didn't get to, or you can always email me at president@fac.org, and I'll make sure that somebody answers your questions. We're here to support you. I know this was short tonight, but we're always here to try and help you. So if we don't get your questions, please send them to us and we can collect them and make sure that we get them out to our advocacy listserv. So make sure you join that.
So appreciate everybody who's here for your commitment to this issue, and looking forward to continuing the good work to make sure that our students have access to standalone pre-transfer coursework.
Thank you guys for coming. Have a wonderful night. Take care.